All right, hello Ceramics 1 and 2. If you want to join us too, that is totally great. Last year, right before COVID hit, you did your research on this and you had your drawings and you created your concept sketch and you had your references and you're all set to go, and then COVID hit and then we had to stop working and we didn't even get to start making our sculptures. So you can use those drawings from last year because I know you were excited about them and you want to create that sculpture, and I totally honor that. But Ceramics 1, you have no idea what we're talking about. So we did go through today and talk about the sculpture, the history of sculpture, and then we talked about ceramic sculpture, and then we talked about creating the concept sketches, and we looked at Arneson sketches, and we looked at Rodin sketches, and Kehinde Wiley sketches, and why we talked about why it's so important for sculptors to sketch their ideas before they sculpt. So that's where we're at right now. So for this assignment, what you guys are going to work on today, you're going to watch this video with your sub, because I won't be there on Monday. Tuesday I will be, but you're still going to watch this video because I'm creating this drawing just once. What you're going to do is find two references, two resource images. Now in Tuesday's class we talked a little bit about how to avoid cultural appropriation. How do we avoid using references for our own work but not stealing sort of the culture or the religious significance of an image from somebody else's culture if we don't necessarily believe in it ourselves. So let's talk a little bit about that just so that we can kind of even the playing field here. I have a lot of images here. So I did come across, and I had talked a little bit about my personal life here. My son, he is part Indian from the Fijian Islands, Fiji. So he's half Caucasian like me, and then half Indian from the Fijian Islands. And so I want him to grow up understanding his cultural heritage and where he kind of came from. So I'm going to have to do a lot of work around that. I'm going to have to do a lot of educating myself and really kind of bringing him into that world. But it's tricky for me because I am a white woman, right? And it being a choice single mom, I don't have the other side of that culture to bring to him, so myself. So that being said, we're not going to go into the rest of that, but I did want to talk about how I'm inspired by this Hindu goddess. This Hindu goddess, Shashti, she represents the protector of children, and that's why I like her. So I'm drawn to her, and also I'm drawn to bringing images of Indian culture into our household so that he understands that. But I am not educated fully on Hindu culture. I did grow up, my best friend is Indian, and her family's kind of like my family. So I do have some knowledge and background, and he's going to be spending a lot of time with them. But I'm still, I am who I am, and I come from where I come from. So I only have so much to bring. So how do I can't just recreate this image. And why not? Well, because I'm not Hindu. This is a religious figure. This is a goddess that is worshipped. So I do not worship this goddess. I appreciate this goddess, and I think it's a beautiful, beautiful symbol and image. So I'm interested in what she symbolizes. I'm interested in her being the protector of children. And considering, what's going on in the world right now with COVID and all the other things that we have, on our minds and to worry about, I just felt as though it would be really wonderful to have a symbol of protection in the home that means something to me, that comes from my background. So I started looking into, the symbols and the images that I've been interested in the past, and thinking about what do I want my sculpture to represent. I do want it to represent this concept of protection and protecting children and protecting things in the world that are pure and good. So I'm thinking about nature, and I'm thinking about animals, and I'm thinking about children. I feel like all three of those things should go into my sculpture. I do need it to be a human figure because that's part of the assignment, and that human figure has to have some type of fantastical element to it. So this is my original inspiration, and then, I'm digging around and I'm thinking about what I might want my figure to look like. Well, I want my figure to have both male and female aspects to it, because I feel like both of those energies, and whatever percentage they're mixed in, is really a wonderful way of supporting a young person growing up, right? So I chose the Venus of Willendorf. So if you haven't seen this image already, this is a little stone statue sculpture. It is dated back to 30,000 BCE, before the Common Era, which means 30,000 years before the 0 year. So this is how an art history timeline works. There's the 0 year, and if you're talking about art history in the context of religion and Christianity, BC stands for before Christ, and then AD would be anything after that 0 year this way, which stands for Anno Domini. So now we have the 0 year. If we want to talk about the art history timeline, or a timeline, and not in the context of Christianity, there's other symbols, and those other symbols are BCE, which is before the Common Era, or CE, which is Common Era. So if you see those behind dates, that's what they mean. So if we're talking about the 0 year, right, this was created 30,000 years this way, plus 2020 years this way, right? Because we're in the year 2020, and we were going, forward in time, and then 0, and then now we're going up in numbers. So this is a really, really, really old, ancient, one of the first statues created, and we think she represents Mother Goddess, or fertility. So that's why she is so full. So I love this sculpture. It's meant a lot to me throughout the years being a sculptor. I think it's an incredibly powerful image. So I love that. It's part of my upbringing to revere this sculpture. And then I also love nature. I've always just felt like there was a lot of power in nature. And we're seeing that as well with the fires, right? There is a lot of power in nature. So this is Lesavik. He is the god of the forest. This is Norse mythology. I am not from Finland. This is not my background, but I love nature. So it's just a reference. It's an example of something I'm going for. So that's what I want you to find. I want you to find at least 2. You can find more. So I'm going to make a figure that's both male and female energy. I'm going to make a figure, and then I want to include an animal because, like I said, nature, animals, and children, I feel are very pure and innocent right now, and that's what I want to focus on. Then I love foxes. I've always loved foxes. I've always watched the documentaries about them and how they function together as a family and how they take care of each other, and they're really playful and loving, and they're funny. They're funny little creatures. So I want to put a fox in there. So these are my references. So what do I do now? Now I want to do a drawing. I want to do a sketch. So elements that I might pull into my drawing, maybe a full figure, maybe a figure with some masculine energy, like maybe beards or big arms, or just masculine features. And then I might have a little fox somewhere at the foot, and also a baby. I might have a little baby, like in the Shashti figure, Hindu goddess. She has a cat with her in these images, and then a child or 2. She's also sort of the goddess of fertility, especially for male babies. So that is what I've read about her. If you are Hindu, or if you are Indian and you pray to her, please tell me more about her. I'm curious. Okay, this is another image that I found. Actually, it was sent to me from New Mexico State University, which is where I went to grad school. And they tore down the art building recently and built a new one. And they had a big exhibit in the new art gallery called Labor and Motherhood. And I got this postcard right after I had Beckett. So I thought that was really kind of fortuitous and interesting. So here is the symbol, right, of the mother and the child. Okay, so how do I do this? What do I do? I am going to actually draw with a Sharpie because with this webcam it's really hard to see pencil. So you would use pencil, I'm going to use Sharpie. So this is going to be interesting because if I goof up, I'm not going to be able to erase, but we're going to go for it. So I'm using big paper because I love big paper. That's what I like to draw on. You can use smaller paper if you want to. So we talked about the female figure being sort of full. So I might just start with like a full figured figure. And remember, they're going to be sitting on a seat, and that's for stability. So maybe my seat could be something that has some tree branches on it. So maybe the seat are some tree trunks, or something in nature that I revere. I love Arches National Park. I'm a huge national parks person. I want to go to as many as I can in my lifetime. So maybe I could put an arch back here or not. I mean, it depends. But I think I'm going to put trees, and this is probably why. A couple things. This is very personal, but my my family home is in the gateway town to the Sequoia National Park. Three Rivers is what it's called. And so I named my son Beckett Sequoia Granger because of that. And sadly, some of you might know this already because I've shared it with you or you just hear it in the news, there's a huge fire in the Sequoia National Park right now. It's called SQF fire, complex fire. It's burned 144,000 acres, and it is currently headed straight towards my mom's house. It's about 2 or 3 miles away from the end of her road. She's been evacuated for 2 weeks now. So this is my way of like sending some positive energy that way as well. Maybe I'll put some giant sequoia trees in my drawing. This is how we bring our personal life into our work. You know, we pull from personal experiences. This is how we make it culturally ours. This is how we talk about our culture and our experience. Okay. I'm not sure what I want her face to be. I want her face to be happy and peaceful. You know, I love that bumpy sort of symmetrical texture of the Venus's hair. And we see this on a lot of Egyptian sculpture as well. This sort of like very graphic kind of grid-like hair. They hadn't really figured out how to carve individual tendrils yet. And maybe she's, whoops, I lost my light. Maybe she's peaceful. Maybe she has maybe her eyes are closed. I don't know. I could change that later when I go in and so how am I going to make part of her figure kind of masculine? That's going to be a challenge. Maybe her arms. Maybe her arms are big and they're cradling the child. You know, I'm sort of stereotyping masculine and feminine right now, but you just take it in the direction you need to take it. And maybe the child, I don't want the child to be just in the arms like a baby. I'd rather have them maybe be active. Or maybe the male energy comes in with the child. Maybe there's a lot of like male energy there. I don't know how you would represent that. You'd have to figure that out yourself. And then the fox. What is the fox going to be doing? Maybe the energy can also come in with the gesturing and the motion of the fox. So maybe I have these big circular feet to my chair, and then I want her legs to kind of come down, and maybe she's got bare feet, right? Big toes. Big toes just kind of in the dirt. Maybe I Maybe I make a slab or something. Maybe she's sitting on something that the trees are growing out of. See, this is improv here, you guys. This is Miss Grinninger just kind of rambling and improving on how to make this happen. But sometimes the best work comes out of that. I'm not super sure I want to do a slab. Maybe it's more like a couple pieces of sort of coiled clay that kind of sit under her toes. I like the idea of maybe her toes being in the dirt, kind of like part of the earth. Maybe she's even growing out of the earth. That'd be cool. Okay, so this is sort of my general sketch. So once you get there, oh, I have to put the fox in there. Nope. Maybe there are foxes, or the kind of like you see with the gargoyles or the lions sitting at the head or the arms of the chair, kind of like protector stance. Maybe that's what we got with the foxes. There's two foxes here. That was their body. This is their head, their little ears. These foxes are protecting the child as well. So everything is set up there to protect the child and all things that are natural and good in the world. So I like that a lot. I like the symmetry. Think about that when you're designing your figure. What is the symmetry? Is it asymmetrical, symmetrical? Is it totally off balance? What are you trying to say with this, with the way you're designing it? Okay, I love that. I like it. So I still feel like this is mostly female energy. I'm not sure why. And maybe I need to just let go of that and just let it be what it is. Okay. So after you do your sketch, and remember you're probably doing yours in pencil, unless you really want to try the Sharpie, go for it. Just know, like, see I have a lot of lines on there because I was using Sharpie knowing I couldn't erase. So now I want you to go in and use whatever color you have at home. Maybe you don't have pastels, and that's fine. Maybe you have crayons and that's all you have, maybe a paint. But we definitely want to add color to our drawing because you will be glazing these pieces. When you come back to school, you will be glazing these, so we want to think about the glaze. So I'm going to go in now. I could go kind of realism here, or I could pick a color scheme. I might want to simplify the colors. I really love drippy glazes. It's fun, especially when you have a base that can catch the glaze from running off onto the kiln shelf. You can get super drippy. So maybe I do, just to kind of stick with the fox and the nature theme, maybe I stick with like a complementary color scheme, like bright warm colors and greens. So maybe my warm colors are kind of like my accent colors. You can really slow down and add color slowly to your piece, and I'm sort of working quickly so that I can not make this demo longer than it needs to be. But, and then her figure, maybe her figure can have kind of like maybe the sequoia tree colors kind of sort of blend and kind of melt into her figure, like she's part of nature. I like that. And then maybe he can be, by contrast, he can be a red color or pink color. So just work on that. You might want to label things. I'm a big advocate for labeling your drawings. So maybe you can talk about, you can write down your references. Like maybe I pulled the tree, strength of the sequoia trees from this Norse god, and maybe I love the foxes as protectors. And then I can throw in my references here for mother and child. I've got the Pieta, I've got the the Venus. I've got my Shashti. And then I can say, you know, I'm thinking already about glazes, so I could say drippy glazes. And happy baby, protected baby. Toes in dirt. You know, because you're having all these thoughts while you're drawing, and you might not remember them later. These are her knees, and then chair is tree trunk, and then there's feet. You can figure out what those feet are later. Maybe they're mushrooms. You know, they could be natural things, insects, mushrooms, things growing in nature. Okay, so that is the end of my demo. This is what I would like to see, along with at least 2 references, maybe something historical. So maybe not just like my animal reference, but maybe two or 3 historical references. You're turning that in along with your color drawing that is labeled with your thoughts. Okay, that is due. Look on Schoology to find out the due date.